Let's start here because many people misunderstand what it really means to be a woman of value. Too often, valuable is confused with being loud, demanding, or difficult to handle. But the truth is, a woman of real value does not need to raise her voice, manipulate, or use guilt in order to be treated with respect. She knows that her value is not something she has to proclaim loudly. It shows every day through her choices, her energy, and her presence. And now comes the most important difference you should understand: a demand versus a standard. A demand says, you should do this or else. A standard says, this is who I am and this is what I accept in my life. Do you feel the difference? A demand wants control over the other person. It is driven by fear and by the urge to force someone into something. A standard, on the other hand, stands for clarity and self-worth. It says, this is my energy, this is what I value, and if it doesn't fit, I leave without drama. That is exactly what separates women who are constantly exhausted and chasing validation from women who radiate calm confidence. Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that is exactly what a woman of value embodies. She doesn't adapt just to please a man. She doesn't lower her standards just to keep someone. She lives authentically, knows who she is, and therefore can express her truth clearly without fear of rejection. How does such a woman move? When you meet a woman of quality, you immediately sense her strength. She doesn't beg, she doesn't chase anyone, she doesn't scream to make a point. She moves with calm confidence. Imagine this: she meets someone. At first he is attentive, calls, makes plans, shows interest. Then suddenly his energy changes, he replies slower, becomes vague, withdraws. A woman without standards might panic, bombard him with messages. What's wrong? Why aren't you calling? She would start chasing him, doubting herself, and giving up her boundaries just to keep him. A woman of value doesn't do that. She calmly says, hey, I noticed something has changed. If your interest is fading, that's okay. I just value honesty and clear words. I don't play guessing games. Boom, that's it. No drama, no chasing, just clarity. She doesn't attack him, doesn't blame him, but gives him the chance to speak clearly, while at the same time making it clear that she does not accept vagueness. That is real strength. That is self-worth. Men feel this energy. Real men respect it. Boys feel intimidated by it. And let me make something clear. Having standards does not mean being arrogant. It doesn't mean being too much or conceited. Having standards does not mean rejecting others, but protecting yourself. A woman with standards communicates with grace, not loudly, not disrespectfully, but firmly. She doesn't need to insult you or put you down. She simply says, this matters to me, this is what I expect. And if it doesn't fit, that's okay, but I will not shrink myself. Carl Jung said something very profound. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. That is exactly what standards are. A woman who looks inside and recognizes her worth awakens. She knows she doesn't need to beg for love, fight for attention, or shrink to be accepted. This awakening changes how she speaks, how she moves, and how she decides. Her energy speaks before she even says a word. Do you know women like this? They enter a room and don't have to say much. Their presence says it all. You feel it immediately. She is not desperate, she doesn't overextend herself, and she won't settle for nonsense. She waits to be met with real intention. And let me tell you, if a man approaches her the wrong way, he quickly realizes this is not a woman you can play games with, because a woman who values herself doesn't need to scream her worth, but she lives it. And precisely because she lives it, her words carry weight. When she says, I value commitment, I don't tolerate ghosting or this back and forth. She's not trying to intimidate a man, she's simply clear. When she says, I want a partnership and not a casual situation, she is not too much, she is honest. Such women inspire men to grow, not because they demand it, but because their presence brings out the best in them. But be aware, this kind of self-confidence doesn't come overnight. A woman of value wasn't just born unstoppable, She has learned, she has grown, she has probably lived through times when she stayed too long, gave too much, and received too little. She knows what it feels like to lose herself in a relationship, and she knows the pain of wanting to save someone who wasn't even ready. Yet instead of becoming bitter, she used those experiences to grow stronger and wiser. She learned love does not mean sacrificing your peace. Compromise does not mean ignoring your own needs. And loyalty is no badge of honor if it destroys you. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That is exactly what happens when women don't have standards. They end up in the same patterns, attracting the same men, having the same painful experiences, and thinking it's just bad luck. But once a woman awakens and recognizes her worth, she breaks the cycle. If you have ever broken such a cycle, write "awake" in the comments. She realizes she is not a pawn of fate. She has control over her choices and the power of her words. And now to the essence. The language of a woman of value is different. She doesn't speak from insecurity, but from confidence. She doesn't say, "Why don't you love me? Why didn't you call? What did I do wrong?" That would be insecurity and fear. Instead, she says, "I noticed a change. Honesty is important to me. If you're no longer interested, that's okay, I respect it. But I won't chase anyone who doesn't want to stay." Do you notice the difference? That is emotional maturity. That is self-worth in action. And the beautiful thing is, men who are serious, men who are truly ready and mature, respect exactly that. They accept it, they value it. Because a woman with standards not only elevates herself, but the whole relationship. This is what you should remember. A woman of value does not demand. She sets standards. She doesn't scream. She radiates clarity. She doesn't chase. She attracts. Her words don't come from fear, but from trust. Her energy doesn't beg. It inspires. And do you know why that is so powerful? Not because she is perfect, but because she has done her work. She has gone through the pain and chosen self-respect over despair. That is the foundation, the starting point. Because once a woman understands that her value is non-negotiable, everything changes. How she speaks to men, which relationships she chooses, and how she behaves. And believe me, the world feels the difference. And one more thing, for a woman of value, a man is not in first place. She is. That may sound shocking to some, especially in a world where women are constantly told their worth depends on whether they are chosen, married, or in a relationship. But the truth is, a woman who values herself knows that no relationship can thrive if she hasn't first built respect, love, and trust within herself. She is whole, not incomplete. The problem for many is that they first seek love outside before they love themselves. They look for someone who completes them, who fills their emptiness, who heals their wounds. But that is exactly what makes one dependent on the attention, the validation, the presence of the other. And that is the fastest way to lose yourself. A woman of value is different. She is already complete. She knows who she is and what she deserves. A man is a bonus for her, not a bandage. She is not looking for a savior. She does not need a man to give her identity. She already has it. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That is exactly the attitude of a woman of value. Yes, she has experienced pain. Yes, she has gone through hard times, but she does not let herself be defined by it. She chooses to become stronger, wiser, and clearer. Peace instead of pressure. Let me tell you about one of her greatest powers, inner peace. When a woman truly knows her worth, she carries peace within her. She is not desperate, not frantic. She does not try to force anything. She moves with patience. And peace is powerful. A woman with inner peace is unstoppable. She does not let herself be manipulated by sweet words because she pays attention to actions. She is not bought with gifts or trips because her worth is not for sale. She does not need constant attention because she already shines from within. That is why a man immediately feels this peace when he meets her. He realizes right away that he cannot play games with her. He knows that he has to show up with intention. And for the right man, that is not intimidating but inspiring, because a man of value is drawn to a woman who has mastered her peace. Self-confidence, owned, not borrowed. The confidence of a woman of value is not borrowed. It does not depend on how many likes she gets, how many men call her beautiful, or how many people validate her. Her confidence comes from within. She can look in the mirror and smile, not because she is perfect, but because she respects her path. She knows what she has overcome. She remembers the nights she cried silently and still got up strong the next day. She knows her scars, and instead of hiding them, she honors them. That is why her confidence is unshakable. It is real, not fragile, and not for sale. The shift in attraction. When a woman begins to value herself, the type of men she attracts changes. When her standards rise, the clowns disappear. Those who were only there for games, ego boosts, or the chase do not even show up anymore because they know they cannot keep up with her. And that is a gift, because she no longer wastes her time on things that do not suit her. Instead, she attracts men who see her strength as an invitation, not as a threat. Men who understand that her confidence does not mean she does not need love, but that she refuses to settle for anything less than true love. Being alone does not mean being lonely. One of the strongest realizations of a woman of value is this: being alone does not mean being lonely. Far too many women stay in toxic relationships just out of fear of being alone. They tolerate disrespect instead of facing themselves. But a woman of value understands. Being alone is a gift. It means space for growth, time for reflection, the chance to build a fulfilling life, with or without a partner. She would rather sit alone in peace at her table than at a crowded table full of chaos. She would rather spend a night in her own silence than in the arms of someone who does not honor her. Because she knows, self-respect is more valuable than fleeting company. Boundaries without guilt. When a woman values herself, the way she sets boundaries also changes. She stops over-explaining, stops over-giving, stops apologizing for saying no. Instead, she sets clear boundaries and keeps them without guilt. She does not allow anyone to play with her heart just out of fear of losing someone. She does not confuse unconditional love with limitless tolerance. Her boundaries are not walls that keep love out, they are gates that protect her peace. And here it gets personal. How a woman talks to herself is just as important as what she says to men. An insecure woman constantly doubts. She thinks, "Am I enough? Did I do something wrong? If I change, maybe he will love me more." Such thoughts destroy her confidence, but a woman of value speaks differently to herself. She says, "I am enough, just as I am. If he does not see my worth, that is his limitation, not my fault. I do not have to beg for love. I am love." This inner dialogue becomes her shield. It reminds her that her worth is non-negotiable. That is why her energy also changes. She does not enter relationships to be chosen, but with the question, does this fit me? Does this honor me? Does this reflect the life I want to build? Do you feel the difference? One energy seeks validation. The other seeks alignment. And believe me, men notice that. They immediately feel whether a woman is desperate or firmly rooted in herself. And it is exactly this grounded energy that sparks respect. Here is the core. The foundation of a woman of value is self-respect. She is already complete. She is not waiting to be made complete. She chooses peace over pressure. Her confidence is real, not borrowed. She knows that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Her boundaries protect her peace, not her fear. And her inner dialogue builds her up instead of tearing her down. That makes her strong, not because she is perfect or never struggles, but because she refuses to settle for less than the love she deserves. When a woman values herself first, everything changes. How she walks, how she speaks, how she chooses, everything. Men who cannot handle that disappear. Those who can, step forward. That is the power of self-respect. That is the foundation of true worth. And now let us go even deeper. We have talked about the difference between demands and standards. We have seen how self-respect forms the foundation of a woman of value. Now comes something crucial. She does not only look at words but at actions, because she has deeply understood one thing. Words are cheap. A man can tell you anything, that he loves you, that you are beautiful, send you long messages or whisper sweet promises in your ear. But words without actions are empty. They may feel good for a moment, but they do not carry a real relationship. Consistency over charm. A woman of value is not blinded by charm alone. Grand gestures do not impress her if there is no consistency behind them. She is not touched by a late night, "I miss you," if she has heard nothing from him all day. Why? Because she has learned that consistency is stronger than charm and effort stronger than excuses, patterns over promises. She does not judge a man by what he promises, but by what he actually lives. If a man says he is serious, fine. But then she watches. Does he really call when he says he will? Does he respect her time and her plans? Does he uphold her values and boundaries even when things get stressful? Because the truth is, a man's pattern is more powerful than his excuses. And if his pattern does not change, then his promises do not count. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." This hits hard, because that is exactly how a woman of value evaluates her relationships. She knows anyone can talk like a king, but only a real man can act like one. Effort instead of empty energy. This is another distinction she understands. Attention is not the same as effort. A man can send flirty messages all day and still not show real effort. He can send emojis and compliments without ever investing real time, consistency, or intention. That is superficial energy, not true effort. A woman of value does not confuse the two. She is not fooled by breadcrumbs and not impressed by the bare minimum. She knows the difference between intention and distraction, and she does not endlessly explain herself. When she notices inconsistency, she does not beg, lecture, or write novels to convince him. She may say it once clearly, "I value consistency, and I have noticed a change in your energy." Period. No repetition, because she knows a man who respects her does not need begging, and a man who does not respect her is not worth it. Potential versus reality. This is where many women get stuck. They fall in love with potential. They see what a man could be and build an entire picture of the future on that. But a woman of value does not do that. She does not look at potential, but at reality. She does not evaluate a man by what he promises, but by what he shows today. She knows waiting for someone to become his best self is a gamble, and it is not her job to raise a man. Responsibility instead of excuses. Another difference. What matters to her is how a man deals with mistakes. She does not expect perfection. She knows mistakes happen. Life is chaotic. But the question is, does he take responsibility? Does he learn from it? Or does he hide behind excuses and repeat the pattern? That is exactly what separates men from boys in her eyes. Not charm, not money, not looks, but character. Silent withdrawal, no drama. One of her strongest traits, when words and actions do not match, she does not make a scene. She does not need to yell or create drama. She pulls back her energy and leaves quietly. No drama, no confusion, just standards. Because she knows her inner peace is more valuable than holding on to chaos. Built, not bitter. A woman of value is not bitter. She is built, shaped by pain, by lessons, by growth. Every disappointment has made her stronger. Every red flag she once ignored has made her wiser. That is why her love today is selective, her time precious, and her energy sacred. She is not hard to please. You just cannot play with her. And believe me, men feel that. Real men know that they cannot win a woman of value with games. They cannot lie their way into her life. They have to show up real. And instead of being intimidated by her standards, the right men are inspired by them. Because her boundaries challenge, her standard reminds a man of who he can become, not through pressure, but through inspiration. Conclusion: a woman of value looks at patterns, not promises. She puts consistency above charm. She does not confuse attention with effort. She builds on reality, not potential. She honors responsibility, not excuses. And when words and actions do not align, she leaves without drama. Because she knows, in the end, words may sound nice, but actions tell the truth. And a woman of value always believes in the truth. Communication with strength, and this sets her apart even more. When a woman knows her worth, her voice changes. She does not speak out of fear or insecurity, but out of clarity and strength. An insecure woman says things like, "Where are you? Why are you not calling? Do you still love me? Am I enough?" That creates pressure, drama, and distance. A woman of value speaks differently. "I noticed a change. If your interest has shifted, that's okay. I just appreciate clarity, calm, direct, without fear." She does not react impulsively, but responds consciously. Instead of accusations like, "You never care about me," she says, "I have felt a bit distant lately, let's talk about it." That is maturity instead of reaction. She also sets her boundaries with grace. "I value respect. If yelling is your way of handling conflict, I'm stepping out. We can talk again when we are calm. No insults, no drama, just clarity." And you feel it. She does not raise her voice, she raises her energy. She does not need to be loud to be heard. Her presence speaks before she even opens her mouth. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept yourself completely." That is exactly the secret of her voice. She has accepted herself, strengths, weaknesses, scars, worth. That is why her words carry weight. And this is where the magic happens. Her communication invites. She does not use guilt, fear, or jealousy to keep a man. She uses honesty, respect, and maturity. And real men hear that, embrace it, respect her for it. A woman of value does not manipulate, she communicates. She does not act out of fear, but out of trust. She does not raise her voice, she raises her energy. She speaks from confidence, not insecurity, from maturity, not impulse. She speaks with grace. Her words do not make noise, they create connection. That makes her unforgettable, that earns her respect, and that sets her apart in a world where many talk, but few truly say something. We have gone through this step by step, the difference between demands and standards, how self-respect forms her foundation, why she places actions above words, and how she communicates clearly and confidently. Now we bring it all together, her presence, her purpose in life, and which men she attracts when she lives in her worth. Because a woman of value does not just live differently, she attracts differently too. Her presence. When a woman of value enters a room, people feel it. Not because she is the loudest or tries the hardest, but because her energy is unmistakable. She radiates self-respect, stays calm, needs no validation because she validates herself. She does not seek attention because she already has her focus. This energy is magnetic. People want to meet her, be near her, and feel safe because she is grounded. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That is exactly what she has done. She is herself. No watered-down version, no show, no copy. This authenticity shines brighter than any apparent perfection. Her purpose is her anchor. Her whole life does not revolve around a man. She is not waiting for someone to complete her. She is already complete. Her life has meaning beyond her relationship status. Goals, dreams, passions. She builds consciously: career, health, spirituality, family, or art. That is why she does not cling, does not settle for less, and does not chase anyone. Her life is already full. A man is not her purpose. He is a partner in that purpose. The men she attracts. Not every man can handle such a woman. Some find her intimidating, not because she is hard, but because she is clear. Not because she is cold, but because she is secure. Boys see her boundaries as rejection. Men see them as respect. Boys call her too much. Men call her inspiring. That is why she wastes no time convincing the wrong ones. Her energy is not for everyone. And that is okay. She is not here to please everyone, but to be loved by the right one. The right man recognizes her immediately. He does not see her standards as walls, but as an invitation to grow. Her independence is no threat to him, but strength. Her boundaries are not rejection, but guidance. He does not play games. He knows that does not work here. He does not need to pretend. Authenticity is her language. Instead of running away, he steps forward. Instead of blocking, he aligns. Instead of withdrawing, he comes closer. Her presence brings out his best. Her standards remind him of his strength, and when she loves, it feels like a blessing, not a burden. Her love is rare. Dear ones, when a woman of value loves, she loves deeply. She is not cold, not distant, not too independent to care. When she chooses you, she truly gives herself. She supports, nurtures, uplifts, is a safe place in a noisy world. But she no longer loves blindly. She pours nothing into empty cups and does not waste her love on people who do not appreciate her. Her love is generous and at the same time selective. She gives it where it can grow. She does not control, she inspires. She does not nag to change a man, she lives what she means. This energy lifts others quite naturally. Grace in letting go. Deep love does not mean holding on at any cost. If she feels a lack of alignment, she lets go, without bitterness, without revenge, with grace. She believes in letting go, not in resentment, for she knows holding on to what does not serve you blocks what is meant for you. When someone leaves, space opens for something better. That is why she does not force connections. What is destined for her finds her, what is not may go. Her circles are sacred. It is not only about men. She is conscious with all the people in her life. She protects her energy, surrounds herself with those who inspire, not those who drain. No drama, no gossip, no chaos. Her peace is too precious. She knows whoever is allowed into her circle shapes her growth. Narrow-mindedness will not make her small. Her trace. At the core, it is about impact. She does not just live, she leaves behind. She creates, not just survives. She thrives instead of just going along. She does not live only for the moment, but for contribution through work, family, faith, art, or leadership. She leaves something behind, greater than herself, lasting, all summed up. A woman of value defines herself not by demands, but by the standards she lives by. Not by the attention she receives, but by the respect she radiates. Not by whom she holds on to, but by what she no longer tolerates. Her presence is magnetic, her purpose clear, her love powerful, her energy rare. That is why she does not run, she attracts. She does not beg, she embodies. She does not settle, she chooses. And when the right one comes, he not only admires her, he thanks God for her. For a woman like her does not come your way every day. To every woman who hears this strength, this presence, this meaning, all of it is already in you. You do not need to become someone else. Bam. You discover what is already there. Lay down insecurity, lay down fear, lay down self-doubt. What remains is the version of you that was always meant to shine. Write in the comments, "My strength is within me." The woman of value does not only change relationships, she changes lives.